If you think of a popular song you've heard recently, chances are it included the electric guitar. This is one of the most influential and widespread instruments in the history of popular music, used in so many different genres because of its highly valued versatility. Its history consists entirely of innovations, building upon one another and causing the electric guitar to evolve until the modern one is almost completely alien to the first one, introduced in the 1920s. And as the guitar changed, so did modern music. Over that course of time, the electric guitar has impacted modern culture to the point where it's instantly recognizable and has become a critical part of our music. The problem that started it all was volume. The acoustic guitar is just too quiet for most performances, so engineers were working for a design that could amplify the guitar's output to a higher volume. A device that could pick up the vibrations of an instrument through its bridge, using a magnet and coil to convert the vibrations into electrical signals, was created in 1924 for the viola and double bass by Lloyd Loar. The Stromberg Voisinet Company adapted that design to the guitar, except that the pickup was located on the soundboard instead of the bridge. This design was the first electric guitar on the market, but the signal was too weak to be amplified. It was only when a new pickup system was developed that received the signal directly from the strings that the guitar as an electrically amplified instrument was possible. The first successful guitar to use this design was called the Frying Pan, designed in 1932 by George Beauchamp and Adolf Rickenbacker. It was a model made of aluminum and played on the lap, and was immediately successful with Hawaiian-style guitarists. The Spanish version, though, was far from perfect. Apart from sounding nothing like the acoustic, it picked up external electrical signals, resulting in clicks, pops, and humming, and it sometimes produced feedback. The amplifiers distorted the sound when turned to the highest volume. But with time, guitarists embraced the flaws of the electric guitars, recognizing the potential for a new kind of sound. The creation and evolution of the electric guitar had an extreme impact on almost all genres of music. In the late 20s and early 30s, it was used mostly for rhythm and dance bands. It wasn't until the late 1930s that the guitar took the melody. This change was motivated largely by guitarists such as Charlie Christian, Leon McAuliffe, Bob Dunn, and Eddie Durham, though Christian is considered by many to have played the first guitar solo. During the 1950s, accomplished guitarist Chet Atkins introduced a new style of music, a fusion of pop and country that resulted from the introduction of the electric guitar into country music, where the guitar replaced the fiddle and steel guitar. This was called the Nashville sound and is still present in country music today. The guitar also helped bring blues back to popularity, with a new variation called Chicago blues. In the late 1950s, this style of music eventually evolved into rock and roll, which was basically centered around the electric guitar. Amplifier distortion became an integral part of the rock and roll sound. Although the electric guitar was accepted by the majority of musicians and listeners, it was mostly rejected by folk devotees, who felt that the traditional acoustic style made for a more intimate performance, so that the musician could connect with the audience. They held that the electric guitar was too loud, so that the music was played at the audience, not to the audience.
Come gather round, people, wherever you roam.
The most notorious example of this might be Bob Dylan's controversial performance at the Newport Folk Festival in 1965. When Dylan, an accomplished folk guitarist, used an electric guitar instead of acoustic, many of his fans were outraged.
For the times they are a-changing.
To leave behind that tradition was like a betrayal to those loyal to the folk genre. When engineers saw that the electric guitar was fast gaining popularity, despite those who rejected it, they attempted to work out the flaws and perfect the instrument. In 1941, Les Paul created the first completely solid-body guitar, a solid block of pine wood with 2 homemade pickups, a bridge, vibrato system, and tailpiece, complete with a Gibson neck and fingerboard. This guitar, christened the Log, had better sustainment of notes and no feedback. In 1952, this design concept was used in the creation of the Gibson Les Paul, a model which is still highly popular today. In 1955, Seth Lover patented a pickup with 2 coils which were wired differently from each other to cancel out electrical interference. They also enriched the tone and gave the signal more power. These are now known as humbuckers for their ability to remove the humming and other noises caused by electrical interference. Meanwhile, competitor guitar manufacturer Fender had been making its own innovations. In 1949, Fender released the Telecaster. This model had an adjustable bridge, a metal truss rod in the neck, a new pickup for the pull for each string, and a second pickup in the neck position. Although these innovations made the Telecaster popular among guitarists, it was the Fender Stratocaster, released in 1954, that really had a lasting effect. The Stratocaster had a new body built for the comfort of the guitarist, a bridge that could adjust to all 6 strings, 3 pickups, deeper cutaways to reach the higher frets, and a patented Fender tremolo arm, or whammy bar, that could move the bridge while keeping the guitar in tune, which had previously been a problem. These multiple innovations earned the guitar such favorability among musicians that it became possibly the most recognizable guitar ever created. Over time, like apple pie or baseball, it would be seen as an American icon. By the 1960s, musicians began to manipulate the once undesirable sounds of the electric guitar, most notably feedback. Jimi Hendrix is generally considered the most influential pioneer of guitar manipulation, finding new ways to play the instrument, resulting in new and sometimes bizarre sounds. Hendrix points this out in his quote, "Sometimes I jump on the guitar. Sometimes I grind the strings against the frets. The more it grinds, the more it whines. Sometimes I rub up against the amplifier. Sometimes I play the guitar with my teeth or with my elbow. I can't remember all the things I do." Engineers designed filters whose circuitry could change the signal to produce delay, wah-wah effect, compression, and more for an even broader range of sonic textures. Amplifiers with separate controls for volume and distortion were appearing and contributed immensely to the development of music featuring the electric guitar. Another unique innovation was the invention of multi-neck electric guitar. Although double-neck flat guitars were invented in the 30s, it wasn't until the 50s that the Spanish double-neck guitar was invented, and they weren't commonly used until the 70s, when progressive rock artists used them for variations of sound. There are even some custom-built guitars with up to 6 necks, but these are uncommon. Almost 9 decades have passed since the first electric guitar was born. Many of the genres of music we listen to today, like metal, rock, punk, and the modern incarnation of country, wouldn't exist were it not for the invention and development of the electric guitar. Its use has even been integrated into classical compositions. The instrument has become essential to modern culture, not only in America, where the instrument was developed, but all over the world. Today, it is far different from the first primitive models, and continues to change as musicians and manufacturers alike bring forth more and more innovations, making the models of guitar as diverse and unique as the people who play them. When you think about the colossal impact the electric guitar has had on both music and culture, it's hard to believe its humble beginnings, how it was rejected because of its deviation from tradition, and because of its initial flaws. The success and musical advancement brought about by an amplified instrument is a prime example of why it's important to progress through invention and innovation. Without the creativity of musicians and engineers, the electric guitar and the entire culture surrounding it would never have happened. The ability to strive forward, unafraid of mistakes, and to turn imperfections into entirely new strengths is the kind of attitude that causes revolutionary changes, even in something like music. This is the kind of attitude we all need. This is key to the process of innovation.